Back to the show, guys. Today we're going to focus on commercial real estate agents that have a focus on retail. I've got the canvassing queen, Beth Azor, is coming on. She's a published author, actually a couple times over. So she's got a lot of tips and tricks that we can utilize to really help grow our business. Now, if you're new to the channel, my name's Joe Killinger. I've been a real estate entrepreneur for over 20 years, and I use this platform to really bring people like Beth on to bring you value and talk about the tips and tricks that she uses to be successful in her real estate business. So make sure you give us a like, and if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe. Oh, Beth, thank you for coming on the show today. I'd like to be very clear that today it's a very selfish interview I'm doing because I want to learn a lot from you. And I just think it's, one of my agents walked in a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, have you seen this book?" And I said, "I had not. I think it's up on our website already." And he said, "Yeah, you should really interview her." I said, "Well, she's scheduled, so she'll be on in a couple of weeks." So he was very excited.
Which book was it, Joe? Was it the first?
I don't remember.
You don't know.
One.
Okay, all right.
I was just so
I
was laughing. When I saw your name, awesome. I was laughing. So, so this is going to be a little selfish because I know the questions that they had. So, Beth, sorry to ramble on right away, but I'm a little excited. I'm like a kid in a candy store. Why don't you give a little bit of your background? I think that'd be a really good place to start. Obviously, you've written a book or two.
Yes. So I've been in retail real estate for 36 years, and I didn't start when I was 10, unfortunately, Joe. I live in South Florida. I own a small portfolio worth about $100 million. I'm one of the few women in the US that actually owns real estate and is just not a spouse of a guy that owns real estate. Right. So I'm very proud of that. I have been teaching leasing agents for retail and office for years on how to bring prospects creatively and quickly to their listings or their properties that they own, and mostly through canvassing and social media, direct messaging. And now I'm on a push to get women to invest. So I own properties. I teach leasing agents how to fill vacancies, been doing it a long time. And I'm in South Florida where the market is hot. Currently, I have a project I'm working on in Cleveland, Ohio, where I took on a mall that was 17% occupied, and we have it up to about 40. And it's all through canvassing, because when I went to Cleveland, I didn't know a soul. I didn't know a broker. I didn't know a tenant. And we've signed 16 leases. We have 8 in the hopper. So I'm very proud of that, because a lot of people say, "Oh, you're in South Florida. It's easy in South Florida." Well, it ain't easy in Cleveland, Joe. So
I bet it's not.
The methods have panned out 36 years later in Cleveland.
Yeah. It's a completely different market. That's for sure. Well, I think, a lot of our subscribers, Beth, are, they're either real estate agents or real estate investors. So you kind of can really help everybody out. But, let's say I'm a newer real estate agent and I want to do retail. Can you kind of give us your top points that you think I should focus on?
Sure. So do they want to represent retailers, or do they want to fill vacancies in shopping centers?
I think represent retailers.
Okay. So the first thing that I would recommend is they try to partner with someone, a senior that has existing tenant rep relationships, because a newbie is not going to get the Home Depot account, right? They might get a franchise, maybe the local Signorama franchisee. They might hire kind of a newbie, someone who maybe grew up in the submarket, who knows the market really well. But if my son or daughter wanted to get into tenant rep in retail, I would say, find someone in your company that has some experience representing larger tenants and has been doing it for a while, and go offer to work for peanuts to learn the business and learn the relationships. And then what happens is, those folks that are representing the big boys, they get calls all the time to represent startups or smaller chains. And if you're there hanging around helping them put together their tour books for the big guys, it's very likely that they're going to say, hey, why don't you take this one, right? And they could be the mentor of that person to help teach them about tours, teach them about dealing with landlords and negotiating on behalf of the tenant reps. So that would be my advice. Find someone that's got a bunch of business that you could help be an assistant to or a junior to, because you'll learn and you'll get their throwaways.
Yeah. Yeah. Finding the right mentor and finding the right fit for a mentor is key, and then how do you bring them value? All right. So I've got the mentor. I'm ready to go. How do I start making money? That's why I got into this business. I want to be rich like you and everybody else that's been doing it for a while. How do I get there?
So tenant rep is the hardest path to making money. So I would say do both. So go try to work listings, because if you meet, let's say, a Sinorama franchisee and he goes, I'm going to sign a franchise with Sinorama and I'm going to go open 3 locations. Very often that blows up and they don't do any. Right. Versus when you work for a shopping center owner that has a vacancy, if you bring that shopping center owner a deal for that vacancy, he's not going to change his mind and say, I decided I didn't want to lease it. So that's guaranteed money. So if you are new and you want to start making money right away, then I would say start on the landlord leasing side of the business, because if you go hustle and you prospect and canvas and social media, you go find tenants for this guy's vacancies in his property, you're going to get paid a lot faster than running around working for free for a tenant that may or may not change his mind 3-4 months into it. Yeah. So I think that you can compound and leverage the effort and the work you put in by prospecting for the landlord listing faster than for tenant rep.
Yeah. We see with some of our agents, we tell them before you step out of the office, you get the lead, you talk to them, get an NDA signed. So you're going to act, there's an opportunity to make money here, and make sure they've got the money, because we get a lot of calls of people that we have this dream of opening this retail store or this restaurant, but there's no business plan behind it. There's no money behind it. And, so sometimes you have to kind of push that along and help them, find their vision and get them on the path. Are you seeing that? Do you see that much in your area?
We do. I get calls all the time for people. I got a call yesterday. They want to open a Latin restaurant in a former restaurant space I have. And I say, great. Do you have a restaurant now? No. Yeah. Have you ever been in the restaurant business? Or have you ever owned a restaurant? No. But my dad's the executive chef at a popular local Cuban restaurant down here. So I'm like, okay, so he's got some experience. And so I said, do you know how much it takes to put in a hood and a grease trap? No. Yeah. So I said, I think that what you guys should do is do some research. A hood is 25 grand, a grease trap's 25 grand, air conditioning is 10 to 15 grand. So before you even open your doors, you're spending probably 200 to 300,000 with equipment. And she went, oh my goodness. So yeah. I try to have those calls before I drive out to the location and show her the space, because exactly, time is our commodity, Joe. You know that, I know that. And, now if they're new in the business, they're young, and they want to go show space and learn from that and then prospect before or after. Mm-hmm. I don't mind that, because showing space also takes learning, finesse. And if you want to practice on someone, I'd rather you practice on someone like that, where they're probably as junior as the agent, and they can learn off of that person. I don't want the junior agent learning off of the guy that's got 20 locations, because he's going to eat that agent alive. Oh yeah. Yeah. That's the thing, is you can't be afraid to partner, right? If you're new, and you run into somebody that has 20, 30 locations, you better get somebody that can help you, because this guy's going to know, the guy or girl is going to know the questions to ask. And if you don't know the answers, you're just going to lose them. And you really want to focus on. But now, how many listings do you carry right I only have one third-party listing because I have my 6 shopping centers that I own.
Right.
So I focus on my 6. I've had the one third-party listing that I have was a 37-acre piece in Miami. And the guy, I had just left my former firm I was with for 18 years. I was the president of that firm the last 6 years I was there. I went out on my own and I said, no third-party business. And this guy calls me and he says, look, I've got 37 acres. And it's zoned industrial and I'm going to rezone it to retail. What do you think? I said, well, 37 acres in Miami, it's going to be Costco, Home Depot, or Walmart. Here are the 3 brokers' names. Just call them directly. You don't need me. And then he interviewed this other guy. And the next day he called me and goes, you won. I go, I am shocked. This was an Orthodox Jewish man who could not shake my hand. And he was Cuban or Colombian. And the guy that interviewed after me was a Cuban Jewish guy. And I'm thinking, well, if he's going to hire someone, he's going to hire that person. And he goes, no. My dad, who was in the meeting, who didn't speak English, couldn't believe you were going to just give us the 3 brokers' names and not even ask for anything.
Yeah.
And I said, well, it's 3 easy phone calls. He goes, well, we hired you. We're going to hire you. So I made the 3 phone calls. I knew the 3 brokers right away. We put Walmart, we put the property under contract with Walmart to sell it, the whole 37 acres. That was in 08, Joe. They had it under contract for 9 months, due diligence. Now we're in 09. They dropped the contract. They lose a $250,000 non-refundable deposit, which the guy sent me part of that, which was very nice. He didn't need to. And then he said, okay, what am I going to do? We're in the middle of a global recession. And I said, sit tight, Walmart will be back. Because he's like, should I rezone it back to industrial? I said, no, Walmart will be back. So 2 years later, Walmart comes back, but they only want 20 acres. So he goes, the good news is we're back. The bad news is we don't want 37 acres anymore. So this guy says to me, I'll take that deal, but you have to stay with me and help develop the 17 acres that's left. And I'm like, oh, I didn't want to do any third party. So I've been doing this with him for 20 years. It's now a Ross Dress for Less. It's a Didi's. We have multiple out parcels, strip centers. So I've helped him develop the whole thing. So that's my one third party client that I have.
Okay. All right. Now, you're probably not doing cold calls anymore, but if you're starting out, do you suggest you still do?
2 hours ago, I was knocking on doors with my 2 interns.
Oh yeah, no, I know that you go out and knock. That's gonna be my next thing. Block program. It's something that I can talk to a retail agent and I'll say, how's your block program? What's that? I'm like, what? You don't know what a block program is? And I know that's your sweet spot. So I want to see if you still do cold calls first. I was leading you down a path here.
Gotcha. So I don't like cold calling.
Okay. Who does?
I don't have a lot of success of it. So
Okay.
I do social media DMs because remember, I'm retail. So if I get on Instagram or Facebook and I DM 30 barbers, I'm going to get 10 that respond to me.
Yeah.
If I DM 15 Mexican restaurants on Instagram, I'm going to get 5 that respond to me because I'm right on social media. I'm getting directly to the decision maker, the owner of the business, because they monitor their own social media sites. Today, I think we went in this morning, 12 retail spaces. I think we got 6 owners' names and numbers. But more importantly, when you go into the spaces, you get to see the merchandising. Is it full? Is the space too big for the guy? How's the signage? How's the employees? How's the staffing? How's the parking? So that's why I'm called the canvassing queen, is so I prefer to go canvas person to person in the market. And my rule is usually 30 business cards or 3 hours, whichever comes first. And I try to go once a week. In Cleveland on my asset, I fly there once a month. I'm there for 3 or 4 days. I canvas for 2 days and I show space for 2 days. So cold calling, even for the nationals like Starbucks, Chipotle, I know the brokers, so I can cold call them like, hey, I've got this new site I'm developing. What do you think? But even with cold calling, what I like to do is I like to create a map for the nationals that show, like if I'm doing Chipotle, I'll do a map of all of the Chipotles around my site, a map. On the map, I have all of their competitors, locals or franchise or regionals like Mauser or whatever. And then we use mobile data now, Placer AI mobile data, or Uber or Credit Intel. They all have these programs where I can plot and show them, here's the mobile data on your existing sites, and here's the mobile data on my site. And I like to send that to the national retailers and then call them. If they don't call me within 24 hours, which a lot of times they do, but if they don't, I'll call them a couple of days later, and then that's my cold call. Hey, I just did this the other week with Pet Supermarket. Didn't know the real estate manager, didn't know the broker, purely a cold call, sent the package. The guy picked up right away. He's like, oh my gosh, that was the best package ever. So my cold call is a warm call because I sent them a lot of value that was, interesting for them to look at. And then they can say I'd rather have a quick no, Joe, on a site than a long maybe.
Yeah. Now, when you started though, did you start cold calling? Had you just start walking in since day one?
So I started in office leasing, and
Okay.
we canvassed from day one. We canvassed,
Yeah.
calling an accounting firm and trying to get
Yeah.
through the decision makers, not going
Not
to
gonna
happen.
happen.
The other thing is you get, we're never going to get, I just have never in 36 years had a lot of success with the cold call versus going to, whether it's the office space, industrial, I've canvassed for industrial or retail, and then leaving a flyer for my property. That gatekeeper is going to say, real estate, I think my boss wants to look at this, and will take and hand the flyer to the boss. Way better than, hi, this is Beth, and I have a shopping center down the street with vacancy. I don't think that call ever gets to the boss.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. I'll tell you what we tell our agents is we tell them to pick like 3 blocks area. Let's use Hollywood just for example, because everybody's got. So you got Hollywood. You pick three blocks of retail. You go in and you get to know the manager or the owner or whatever that is, and get to know them, and go and leave behind. Create a leave behind. And then you just go from store to store to store to store, both sides of the street. And then after like 2 months, and you take on another 3 blocks. But then once you get the information from the retailer about what's going on in the community, because the second and third time that you pop in, if you do it every 2 weeks, they're going to get to know you pretty quickly, right? And so now you're a valuable asset to them because you're giving them information about the community. But now you start calling the landlords, and you've got all this information. Obviously, you don't say where you got the information from, but you know what's going vacant in that area. You know who's coming in that area. And it's a great way to grow your business. And that's what we tell our agents.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. And it seems to work pretty well for them. It's, it works very well for them. The ones that do it regularly have always had big success. So
absolutely. I love that.
I'm a firm believer in it. Now, how often do you go out to an area? Do you go every 2 weeks, every week?
So when I was a junior, I did 100 a day, Joe.
100 a day?
Yes.
You must have went through tennis shoes.
So,
could have got a Nike deal out of that.
So now that I'm the chief cook and bottle washer for the 6 assets I own, and I have this project in Cleveland, and I do training around the country, I try to do it once a week, 3 times a month.
Okay.
But like I did it today, I did it last week. When I was in Cleveland a week ago, I did it. So I've done it 4 weeks in a row.
Okay.
And during the summer, I have interns. And when I have interns, I do it a lot because I'm teaching them the business.
Gotcha.
I'm doing a contest. I have a consulting assignment with a teaching role with a company with 9 agents. And in July, we're doing a contest called the Canvassing Calendar Club Challenge, where on July 1st, we will prospect 1 person, July 2nd, 2, July 3rd, 3, every day of the month. And so the last week it's 22, 23, 24. And by the end of the month, everyone that participates will have prospected 496 people, because that's the 31 days. And we've got 9 people participating in the program. I'm going to do it also. And we'll have Google Docs up to show everyone that puts in their people from 1 to, every day. And so I'll prospect 496 for my assets and they'll be doing theirs. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of pressure that last week. And you do it on Saturdays and Sundays. So if you don't want to work on Saturday and Sunday, you got to do the work on Friday or Monday.
Oof. Okay. That's a lot. That's impressive though. I mean, and that's what it takes.
I've done the challenge twice with 2 other companies. And one company, we had 14 agents and they did 33 deals out of the challenge.
Oh, yeah. It's getting out there and doing it. I mean, let's kind of break it down. But when you walk into a place and you've never been in a place, how do you start the conversation? I find that that's always something that everybody puts that hurdle. I don't know how to start the conversation. Well, it's not that difficult.
So,
Let's hear what you have to. How do
so
you begin your pitch?
I walk in with a flyer. So right away they're looking at the flyer, and I don't care if the person's 12 or 80. I say, hi, I have shopping centers. What are your expansion plans? I don't ask for the owner because if it's a gatekeeper, I'm going to disrespect them.
Yep.
And I want the gatekeeper on my side. And if it is the owner and I say, is the owner here? That person's going to go, why didn't you think I was the owner? So I like flitter the flyer in front of their face so they immediately don't have to have eye contact with me, which they don't want to have. They look at the flyer. I'm handing them the flyer and I say, I have a shopping center in West Fort Lauderdale. Are you interested in opening more locations? This happened this morning. I said, we went into, I think, 12 businesses. One guy said, yes, right away. I am. My lease, I have to be out by August 1st. My interns were like, that was easy. And then, we walked into other places and the person said, nope. And I walk out. I don't stay and try to push someone or persuade someone or twist someone's arm. My goal is to get 30 flyers distributed in less than 3 hours. We did it this morning because I said, I got to get back because I have this really important podcast with Joe. And so I think of the 11 or 12 businesses we walked in, I think we have 3 or 4 leads. We definitely have 6 names. So what happens is if it's a gatekeeper, that person says, real estate, my boss, he wants to open more, or I think he wants to open more. This is important. This is not a copy machine. And they hand me the name and number of the boss.
Yep.
And so it's a beautiful thing. So this morning, the guy that wants to move by August 1st, my rents are too high. So, and I don't have the size space. He wants like 800 square feet. My smallest space is 1,500. So I've already connected him with a friend whom I know has smaller space and less rents. Not taking a referral. I'm just being a nice neighbor.
Yep.
And I help out the prospect. I help out my friend. It's a beautiful thing.
It'll all come back to you down the road. I'm a firm believer. We do the same thing. Now, let's say if it's not a shopping center, it's in line, Hollywood Boulevard. You walk in there. How do you start your pitch?
So I walk in and it's like a super cool vintage clothing store, right?
Okay.
I walk in, I go, I have a space in Ventura Boulevard. I would love to have a store like this. Any plans of expanding? I don't walk in and pretend, oh, this is a great store. I say when I do my workshops, I go, why don't people prospect and canvas? And people go, because they're afraid of rejection. I go, great. Why are they afraid of rejection? Because when you walk into the store, you're interrupting the business owner. Exactly. So the most important thing to not have the business owner's anger rising is not to walk. And most of my leasing agents I've trained, they walk in and they start looking around, pretending that they're shopping, complimenting the owner. And the owner's like, I know you're a salesperson, get to the point. Right. Yeah. So the only time that this didn't work for me was in Birmingham, Alabama. God love my Southerners. They want you to say hi. They go, I'll walk in and say, I love your store. I've got a vacancy in, the next county over. Are you interested? And they go, hi, my name is Mary Ellen. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. My name is Beth. Other than Birmingham, Alabama, getting to the point works really well. And then just like this morning with the guy who said, yes, I'm looking, my lease is up August 1st. What do you have? I say, oh, well, my stuff is about 30 minutes from here. That's where I'm looking. I go, oh, by the way, I'm Beth. And he goes, oh, and I'm Rodrigo. And you have a conversation.
Now, if you don't have a listing, you're just new starting out, do you just say that you have a listing or,
So if I think that you should talk to a senior in your office and say, can I canvas for you?
Yeah.
Can I use your listing and help you? And I'll go canvas for you. If you don't have a listing and you want to go prospect, it's going to be really hard to get business, like, because you need to control, as you know, Joe, one side or the other, right? You either, you could walk in and say, hi, I'm in commercial real estate. Do you want new locations? And I can help rep you. And then that person's going to say, great, who else have you repped? So you're back to that square one again. So I do think that you can't really go prospect. It would be really hard to prospect for listings.
Yep.
And I think until you have some experience, it would be really hard to prospect for tenants, reps.
Yeah, I agree. Now, do you try and get their email and you put them in your CRM? Do you do emails then?
I do no email blasts.
Okay,
I have buttons that say no email blasts. I'm not wearing them, but I will send you one. No, so for example, if we have someone that we saw, we went into a waxing place. They're a franchise from San Diego, multiple locations, called Natura. They have 2 locations here in South Florida and they're expanding. The lady gave us the franchisee's guy's name and email, because I said, oh, let's call the guy. No, my intern said, no, we only have his email. So we will email him. We'll send him our flyers and say, we own properties in South Florida. We were in your store in Fort Lauderdale. It's beautiful. And what are your plans? Where do you want to expand in South Florida? Maybe one of our listings can work.
Okay. So you don't think
Now,
it's worth capturing those emails in that street and doing emails every once in a while to them and market updates, what's going on in the area?
Possibly. What I would do with emails is if I had a pizza restaurant that moved out and I, in my CRM, have 30 pizza restaurants, I for sure would do a flyer on a former pizza restaurant with a pizza oven and email that out to my 30 pizzas, or my 29 ice creams, or my 22 daycares, but I would not. So I haven't in the past ever done like a newsletter of what's coming or going in the neighborhood. I have not done that, but that is a good idea.
Yeah. We have an agent that does, and he does block program, and then he captures the emails. And he said, I'll put you on my email list to kind of keep you what's going on in the area. And that works. It's worked very, very well for him, as he's created that. And, he doesn't just go get their email and slap them on. I mean, he says, I'll put you on our email list. If you have anything you want to add, you want to do is talk about your store. And then when he's out there, he'll take a photo in the store of himself. He has a pretty good following, and he'll tag the store and do a post. And that's been working pretty well.
That's awesome.
Free advertising, it's free advertising, and he doesn't have a ton of followers, but the ones he does, they get to see him. So it's very powerful. Now, one thing that you said in one of your videos I was watching, I was like, good God, all these years I've been in this career and I never thought about the closing when you're walking out of the store. You said you walk out and you turn and say, who
do I follow up with?
Who do I follow up with?
Instead of what's the owner's name? Because they're told to not give you what's the owner's name.
Yep.
But when you say, oh, by the way, like a Columbo move, right? Who do I follow up with? They go, oh, Joe's the owner. Here's his number.
I was like, God, that is so brilliant. It's disarming, because you're not thinking about, you're just getting the contact. It's disarming.
And they're relaxed. They're like, oh, I got rid of the salesperson. She didn't ask me who the owner. I followed the rules. And then
yeah, I was like, I came running into our office the very next day, and they were having office meeting. I go, just stop. You guys need it. This is how you're going to close on your retail now. So, so there's a lot of good tips in your book, and that's one thing about this business, right, Beth? You never stop learning. You listen to people. You listen to people in the business, been in the business, and you do things that work best for you. And some people, cold calling works brilliant, but they don't like the face-to-face. You're obviously comfortable with walking in, talking to somebody, and you got to find where's your strength, and know your weakness.
Absolutely. I had a guy that worked for me that was super comfortable on the phones. He was a sweaty nightmare in person, and he goes, I don't want to go see them. I get all nervous, and and he worked the phones, and he did a great job. You have to find out what works for you and what you're comfortable with.
Yeah. Well, Beth, I'm going to, if you can send me the books that you have, I'm going to put it at the bottom so people can find them. And if people want to get hold of you, how do they do it?
So LinkedIn is probably my most active platform, Beth Azor on LinkedIn. My website, bethazor.com. I'm also active on Instagram as well. So, and Twitter.
And YouTube.
Anywhere.
You've got a great YouTube channel going. I've watched a bunch of your videos, and I'm like, that's where I picked the closing up.
I think there's 150 videos about retail leasing on there.
Yeah, and I connected with you on all those. So I'm looking forward to more of your content. So please keep doing it. And thank you very much for coming on the show today, Beth.
Thank you for having me, Joe.
Yeah, and for those of you watching, make sure you check out the video. Make sure you go see Beth's, all of her content she's got out there, because you will learn a lot. I did. And actually, while you're there, make sure you like and subscribe. So, all right, Beth, thank you very much.